have an important question for you as you are deciding whether or not to bring a lawsuit against your doctor for medical malpractice. The question is, if you bring a lawsuit against your doctor, is your life going to be any different? If you win your lawsuit, is your life going to be any different? What about if you lose your case? Will your life be different? Come join me for a moment as I explore the answers to each of those questions. Hi, I'm Gerry Oginski. I'm a New York medical malpractice and personal injury attorney. So now, why do I ask these questions? You're contemplating bringing a lawsuit because you believe that your doctor was careless and he caused you significant harm and injury. And now you're wondering, okay, the only way I can get compensation, the only way I can get money to help me pay for my bills, for my pain, my suffering, is to go ahead and bring a lawsuit. And you know that to be true. Why? Because you know that when you tell your doctor that he caused you all this harm, he's going to turn around and deny it. What are you talking about? I didn't cause you any harm or injury. And then he's going to turn around and say, hey, even if I did cause you certain harm, guess what? So did you. You caused your own problems. And then he's going to turn around and say, you know what? Even if I did cause you some type of harm, whatever I did didn't cause or contribute to your particular injuries. So now you get upset, you get angry hearing this type of thing. And you know that he's not going to voluntarily take out a checkbook and write you a check for millions of dollars to compensate you for your harms and losses and damages. So you have no choice. But before you go ahead and take that step of going ahead and finding an attorney who's willing to evaluate your case, who now has a medical expert confirm that you have a valid case, before you allow your attorney to go ahead and start your lawsuit against your doctor, you need to ask yourself the following question. How will the lawsuit affect your life? And I'll tell you how it'll affect your life. I'll answer that question first. It's going to affect your life in the form of an emotional roller coaster. You are going to have days when you are feeling great and days when you feel like crap. And I'm not just talking about medically, not just because of your injuries. As the lawsuit begins its process, in all likelihood, the doctor is not going to go ahead and acknowledge that he did anything wrong. And in all likelihood, the doctor is going to turn around through his attorney and say, we are never settling this case. We're going to trial. I'll see you in 2 or 3 years when the pretrial process is finished. So what does that mean for you? It means that now you've got a long road ahead. It means that you're going to have to go through the entire litigation process. And that's 2 to 3 years of litigation. That means there will be days when you feel wonderful. That means there will be days when you hear some terrible things about your lawsuit and what it means for you in your case, and you're going to feel like crap, especially when the defense tries to throw your case out and you're wondering, I don't understand, how could he do that? You have a valid case. There will be days like that. So how can a lawsuit affect you? How is it going to affect you once you decide to go forward with a case? It's going to affect you in many different ways. As your lawsuit progresses, you have to rely on your attorney to deal with the legal stuff. You, on the other hand, have to focus on getting better. You have to focus on recuperating and getting your medical care and treatment. That's what you have to focus on. And your attorney should be communicating with you on an ongoing, regular basis, whether it's every week, whether it's every month. And that's really important for you to keep in the loop, to keep you in the loop, to help you understand what's happening with your case. This lawsuit is going to affect you mostly as you get closer to trial, assuming, of course, that the judge has not dismissed your case during the pretrial litigation process. So now, let's say your case goes to trial. The question then is, how is this going to affect you? Well, it can affect you in a number of ways. The reality is that you brought a lawsuit in order to seek money, to seek compensation for all of the harms that you suffered, right? The doctors can't put you back together. This isn't Humpty Dumpty, where all the king's horses and all the king's men put Humpty Dumpty back together again. That's not how it works. That's not how any of it works. If you could go back in time and make things the way they were before you got injured, that would be amazing. That would be perfect, right? But none of us can do that. So now we have to live with those consequences. So how is your life going to be different? Well, let's take a look at how your life is today. You have a problem with your family. You have a problem with your kids. You have a problem communicating. You have difficulty eating. You need help eating. You need help bathing. You have a visiting nurse come to your house each and every day for months. After you were injured, you were in the hospital for weeks and weeks. And then you had to go to a rehab facility for weeks. And then when you finally got home, what happened? Then you needed a visiting nurse to come bathe you, to help clean you, to help feed you. All of these things that you could no longer do for yourself. And now you're angry, you're frustrated, you're upset. You're upset with your family, you have a short fuse, you don't like talking to people, you become a hermit, you don't want to go outside. All because your doctor was careless at a specific time, at a specific day, He was careless, professional carelessness. And now you have to suffer because of that. And your doctors have told you that your injuries, your disabilities are permanent. They're going to last you for the rest of your life. So now, what are those things you can no longer do today? You can't get in a car and drive somewhere just because you want to drive. You can't go to the grocery store. Why? Because you can't physically do it. You can't ride a bike. You can't go to the beach. You can't go to the pool. There's so many activities that you used to be able to do, but now you can't do it. And is there any way for the doctor to write out a check to pay for your damages because you're now incapacitated? He's not going to do it voluntarily. So you will have no choice but to go forward with a lawsuit, assuming, of course, that you do have a valid case, that a medical expert has reviewed all of your records and, number one, confirms that there was wrongdoing, that he violated the basic standards of medical care. Number two, that those violations were a cause of your injuries. And number three, that your injuries are significant and or permanent. So I ask the question, how is your life going to be different if you bring a lawsuit? Well, I'll tell you something. Let me tell you how your life will be different if you don't bring a lawsuit. Well, you know your mortgage payments? How are you going to pay for that if you're not earning a living? If you can't go back to work? Who's going to put food on your table? Who's going to pay for your kids' college education? How are you going to pay basic supplies to help your family survive? Who's going to do that if you're not earning a living? You can't go back to work. You haven't been able to go back to work for months and months. And your doctors tell you there's no possible way you can ever go back to doing the type of work you used to do. So how are you going to put food on the table? And now you've got a problem. So if you don't bring a lawsuit because of whatever reason, maybe religious reasons, maybe personal reasons, maybe you loved your doctor and you can't fathom the idea of bringing a lawsuit against somebody, that's your choice. But how are you going to feel if you don't bring a lawsuit? Do you really want to go into foreclosure? Do you want somebody to sell your house? Do you want to be out on the street? Do you want your kids to be able to go to school? Of course you do, right? You need to eat. You need to have shelter over your head. You need clothing. How are you going to do that since you're no longer able to work? Now you've got a problem. So when I ask the question, how are you going to feel if you bring a lawsuit? The better question is, how are you going to feel if you don't bring a lawsuit? Now, don't get me wrong. Simply because a medical expert has confirmed that you have a good, valid case does not mean that you are going to be successful in your case. It does not mean that when your case goes to trial, you're going to win it, no matter how great a case you have, no matter how great your attorney is. That's the important thing to keep in mind. So, as I ask the question, how are you going to feel? It's going to be an emotional roller coaster. That's how you're going to feel. So let's jump ahead and now answer the question about how you're going to feel if you win your case. Because here's the reality. You could have the best case in the world, and you know what? There's no guarantee you're going to win your case. You could have the best attorney in New York, and there's no guarantee you're going to win your case. And even if all those things come together and the stars align, there's no guarantee that a jury will give you a substantial amount of money. They may give you a small amount of money or somewhere in between. So just because you feel that you have a great case and your attorney tells you you have a great case and you've got great medical experts to support your case, guess what? It doesn't mean you are ultimately going to be successful. No one can guarantee the outcome. So how are you going to feel if you win your case? I'll tell you something. You're going to feel great. You're going to feel vindicated knowing that all these years were spent because you were right and the doctor was wrong. And now the jury, the 6 members of the community, has come together to tell you, yes, you, the injured patient, were right all along. And now you are entitled to get paid, to get money as a form of compensation for all of your damages. And you feel terrific, and you feel wonderful for about 30 seconds till the defense attorney makes his motion, asks the judge to formally throw out your verdict. And then, even after the judge makes his decision, on papers, days, weeks, months later, now, how's that going to make you feel? It's going to make you feel great for about 30 seconds until the defense attorney tries to get your verdict thrown out. And now you have to deal with post-trial motions as well as an appeal. So now let me also answer the question of how are you going to feel if you lose your case? Well, I'm going to come right out and tell you. You're going to feel like crap, like this is the biggest waste of your time. You just wasted 3 years of your life hoping and praying that at some point during the course of your trial down the road, you would be successful. And you were anticipating and thinking about what you'd be able to do with all that money for you and your family. and to be able to get back on track and to be able to live a normal lifestyle again, as normal as possible? Well, guess what? If the jury comes back and finds the doctor was not careless, your case is over, you get nothing. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel like crap. If the jury comes back and says, you know what, we did find that the doctor was careless and violated the basic standards of medical care, but we find that his wrongdoing did not cause or contribute to your injuries. You want to know how you're going to feel after that? You're going to feel like crap, because that means you've lost your case and you get nothing. You're going to feel awful. You're going to feel terrible. You're going to be depressed. And now, if you haven't been seeing a psychiatrist or a psychologist, you may start seeing one at that point. Why? Because you're going to be devastated. You're going to think that you have a great case, and now the jury comes back and tells you, I'm sorry, you get nothing. Now you're depressed. Now your attorney is trying to explain things to you and you don't hear a word he's saying. All you know is that you've lost your case. And now everything you were expecting has gone out the window. How are you going to feel? You're going to feel like crap. So why do I even raise these questions with you as you're deciding whether or not to go forward with a lawsuit against your doctor? I'll tell you why. Because this happens in every single case. Everybody who comes in to have their case evaluated has these concerns. Some people say, listen, I don't want to bring a lawsuit. I love my doctor, but I don't want this to happen to somebody else. Others say, I don't have an income. I don't have a way to provide for my family. And I know he did something wrong. And everybody goes through this, but nobody focuses on how you're going to feel if you bring a lawsuit. Nobody focuses on what's going to happen if you win your case. And nobody focuses on what's going to happen if you lose your case. And that's why I wanted to share this quick information with you, just to give you an idea, to open your eyes at what really goes on in these medical malpractice cases here in New York. You know, I recognize you're watching this video because you have questions or concerns about your own matter. Well, if your matter did happen here in New York and you're thinking about bringing a lawsuit, but haven't done so yet because you still have questions that need to be answered, what I invite you to do is pick up the phone and call me. You know, I answer questions just like yours, and I'd love to talk to you. You can reach me at 516-487-8207 or by email at Gerry, Gerry, at Oginski-law.com. Well, that's it for today's video. I'm Gerry Oginski. Have a wonderful day.